Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. All right, let's dive into today's episode. We're going to talk about striving for balance and ways to crush your goals without crashing your life. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. Magdalena Raj is a high-impact coach blending business acumen, coaching skills, energy work, and neuroscience techniques to help high achievers, I know you're out there, to reach your goals without sacrificing what matters most. Welcome. So glad that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, is there ever experienced a time in your life where you weren't not authentically yourself and how you kind of overcame it?
Absolutely. And I think it's the things where you don't always admit it, right? I had a 20 plus year in a corporate working environment, and then I became an entrepreneur because my passion was about coaching and helping folks kind of move forward out of some of the things I experienced in the past, and I saw that was still kind of lingering and sitting in the entrepreneurial world. So in that is, not being myself, showing up to work every day, sometimes when you're just not where you need to be, being the person you need to project in a certain setting. Oh, absolutely. And it's funny that you asked me that question because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot. And I talk about it in the construct of, when you first meet someone, you say, so somewhere in the first couple sentences, so what do you do? And you may say, well, I'm a podcast host, or I'm a coach, right? Or I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
But it's not true, because they ask what you do and you tell them what you are. And that's the title of your main role. And so often that's where we go about thinking about it. We work through our life and the roles that we play. And by the way, you play 35 or more on any given day.
Right.
And if
And some
actually,
of them are personas that are not you at all.
well, they're whichever the things are, and some of them include things that you may not like them to include. So, like if I play with you, if somebody got going in the morning, they get up and maybe they're a fashion consultant figuring out what they're going to wear, even if it's only from the waist up. And and then maybe they're a drill sergeant if they got kids because they got to get them up. And then they're a short order cook, making them breakfast or packing the lunch. And then they're a communication specialist because they got to check the WhatsApp with their parent to know what's going on. And they have to be a logistics expert because they got to figure out who's going where, what, when, and how they're getting picked up. And then maybe they're a vet because they're looking at what the cat or the dog did and wondering, do I need to worry about that and fit that into the day, or am I okay? And then maybe just somewhere before they start, they might be a makeup artist. And leave out the chauffeur and everything that gets them everywhere. And now the day's starting. And that's just that. And then
Right.
even whatever the role is, right, you could be playing a negotiator and a therapist and a friend and a peer and a boss and an analyst all through the day. And it can go on, and it goes on to the night, it goes on to the weekend. And we operate by moving in and out of these different roles. And it's easy to lose who you are, and it's easy to lose choosing what goes into the roles that you're in.
I love that. I hadn't thought about it that way.
So your body knows, right? We talk to people, we go, that's your role, right? Maybe if there's someone in the house that takes out the trash doesn't go out, and you go, well, that's your role. I'm doing that, so you're doing that, right? And if you think, let's just take a role of mom, anybody's role of mom, and you could say, well, someone's a mom. Does their spouse or their partner have that same view of being a mom? How about their mother? How about their mom? How about their kids? And we all have kids that we know kids. We were kids, or if we have kids, they'll tell you, Jenny's mom doesn't make her do that. Right? Raphael's dad doesn't make him do that. He lets him do this, right? They'll tell you when you're not doing the role according to their expectations. And that's the thing, is roles come with baggage, massive baggage in the form of expectations. And what expectations equal is effort, energy, and emotion on your part. And that equals time. for you. And the expectations are not always your own. They're other people's, as we just looked at, right?
And that almost becomes like another role. You almost have to have like each role could even be tweaked for each person to set their expectations. And then that's exhausting.
Well, you try to fill it because even if it's not said, you feel it, right? If you didn't do something the way someone expected it to be done, even if they don't say it, maybe it's the silent treatment, maybe it's just how they don't respond, maybe it's a client that disappears, or maybe it's someone in the household that acts differently. That all sits there. And our body knows what roles we're in. And sometimes we switch so quickly our bodies can't catch up. So the emotion from the previous role falls into the next one, and it doesn't have any purpose being there, and it shouldn't be there. And we kind of think we need to have them. And somewhere in that is like, who is you? Who are you?
Right. Yeah. Who's your
Where are
authentic self?
you in the midst of all of those, right?
Yeah.
And high achievers take them on. And by the way, I'll just say, for anybody that doesn't think they're a high achiever, I'm talking to you too. Because a lot of times you are. I didn't think I was one. I wasn't running the world. I wasn't running the country. I wasn't running my company, the billion-dollar company. So I didn't think of myself as a high achiever. No. It's a mindset and it's a behavior pattern. And so many times you don't think about it, but there's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah. I remember once I was like with my coach, was talking about something and I was just talking about whatever. Like, I guess I didn't label myself that way either. And then she's like, well, so you're a bit of a high achiever. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. But she just said it straight up. And I was like, oh, are those high achiever things? I guess so. Like, to me, they're just like my goals that I wanted to achieve, but there are so many of them.
Right. You just think it becomes normal. It feels normal. And that's where we kind of trick our body. And the danger is when you keep pushing that way, it's like to give the 110% and give the 150%. Well, first of all, the scale's 100, and we keep using that language. But because we're making an investment, right? But there's a point where if you don't have anything else to give, you start drawing on the things around you. And a lot of times you're drawing on the very things that you actually want to be enriching through all your efforts.
Right. That can
And the
support
other
you.
thing you do it, and when you do that, you switch from investing to you borrow on your tomorrow. See, I'm a bit older, so I can tell you because I can look back in hindsight and see what happened over time. And that's where people don't realize because they think, oh, we're going for that goal. And then who's there with you when you get to it? Is it the people that you expected? How are you feeling? How's your health when you get there? How's your mindset? Is it what you expected? Or in all the stuff you were doing when you knew your what, maybe you knew your why, but we live in the how. And that how is what makes the difference as to who you are and where you are when you get to where you want to be.
Yeah. So share with us a way of how to crush that goal, but without crashing your life. Exactly how you just described it. What's like a lovely little nugget that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah. So what I say is there's when I work with my clients, there's like three main keys that we want to build. And one is that you have a very vibrant core. And that's where I was talking about the roles. Like you know who you are. Who are you? What are your values, what are your beliefs, and all those things that go around that? Who you are, where do you want to go? And how do you want to show up along the way? Because if you're not showing up the way you want to be seen, you won't be. So that's kind of your vibrant core. You have to make that real, alive, and protect it.
Yeah.
And
And
it
you have to
looks like
consciously think about it too, right? Like
you
actually, like,
do.
how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be as I
We
move forward?
forget. We forget, right? And we kind of do drift and then compromise. Then all of a sudden we think we're this person that's over here, but we're really here. The second thing is you have to have an intentional culture. And it's kind of a funny word to use for a person, but it is. And whether it's in a person or in a family is what's your culture? You may have a culture of achievement. Do you also have a culture of accomplishment? Do you honor when it's an accomplishment? Or is it only the goal that's achieved? Do you have a culture of celebration? Or do you only celebrate when it's worthy of celebration? And is your celebration the same thing each time? Oh, we're going to go out to dinner. What does it mean to have a culture of celebration? Do you have a culture that is a culture of failure? Is failure okay? right? There may be consequence, but you also have a culture of learning. Do you have a culture of exploration? Right? All of things open up because a lot of the times with high achievers, they can move from growth mode when they're overly stressed into protection mode. And they don't even recognize it, but it means that the possibilities close in. So, what's the
Mm.
culture that you're building that protects that core? The people that are in it are part of it, sure. The behaviors and the patterns that go around it. And then the third thing is you really want to have alignment, what I think of as synthesis, but kind of like dynamic alignment. How do you continue to keep this integrated? And how do you keep up with that? Because that makes a huge difference. It makes your decisioning quicker because you have a solid reference point you're working from.
Right.
It means that then you can be intentional in that culture, is that that's how you agree and you engage with other people. So all that expectation stuff that weighs you down, you can present as who you are and kind of state your space and where you are with that. And understand if it doesn't work with that, then you understand, you make a decision from there. But you're not moving from a place of scarcity. Oh my God, if I lose that. No, it's okay. I'm here, I'm comfortable, and I can move on to there. When you get a lot of that set, especially as an entrepreneur, it's one
Mm.
thing as well as a corporate person or a professional, but as an entrepreneur, it allows you to take that income where you want to go. It allows you to make the impact you want to make. Those are kind of like the nutshell of it. And when those shift, everything shifts.
Yeah, and you can start to achieve your goals, right? Or maybe even bigger, better ones, or you
And
achieve
it's
them
in
even
how you
faster.
do it. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
in how you do it because you're treating yourself as something valuable
Yeah.
instead of just something to be, this is my battery. I just kind of run on this. It's really cool.
Yeah, I felt like I was there when I was doing both the corporate job and the side hustle business. And I was trying to had the goal actually of 2023 to switch. And
Hmm.
so in doing so, the business was ramping up more and more, but the 40 hours was still there and just as stressful in that corporate culture. And I did notice that I like that because that was my goal and I was so fixated on that, that
Hmm.
there was so many other pieces of my life that fell away. And
Yeah.
like I wasn't, taking care of myself and, eating healthy and exercising and even like hanging out with friends or even leaving the house.
No, I
Sometimes I
hear,
wouldn't
and that's the
even
thing is that's something you can do in a short term, but you should never mistake a tactic for a life strategy. That is for a period of time, and you have to bound it and go forward. The danger is when we get into that multitasking thing, which of course women actually do it better than men. And I think there was some research that came out that the brain actually, women's brains operate a little differently on it. But here's what we do: we multitask so we can save the time and compress it. And then do we take the time and go, oh, now I have some relaxation? No, 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 no. We go do something else. And see, it actually, that multitasking burns more energy. It
Mm,
actually is a bigger drain because you're technically swapping things in and out. We don't actually give ourselves time to recover. So
yeah.
it's great that women may be good at it, but the longer term impacts of that are the things to look at. So as a high impact coach, I look at the impacts of the choices being made, but I also dial it back to say, let's look across 12 dimensions of your life, because that's what I work with my clients on. It's not work-life
Mm.
balance. That's why I kind of joke about throw that out the window.
Yeah.
You have all these other areas, and we're willing sometimes to sabotage them and drain them all just for this, because as soon as that's over, we'll do that. Someday we'll do that.
Yeah.
That that's not a guarantee. So you have to kind of live the life that you're in and be there. And when you do, then you get to bring your best self to situations. And it
Yeah,
makes a huge difference.
it does. And then just things flow so much more easily from there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Saying you don't want to burn out. That is
No,
like the worst case scenario.
no. And it helps you when times get crunchy to know that it's okay. It is like that. We're going to move through that. And we know what is the next thing we pick up that's going to give us the maximum impact. What is that one thing instead of 50 things? I'm going to do 50 things, right? what are the ones that are going to give you the greatest amount of impact? When you start to select those and you manage your roles, it's amazing what it does to your time.
Yes, yes, that whole sort of like 80-20 rule, right? Like what can you
Mm-hmm.
focus on? The 20% that will give you 80% of the yield,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on
Mm-hmm.
those things first, prioritize those first, and then see where you go from that. Because I often find that even being a high achiever and having done so many things, does anything ever actually complete? Sometimes I feel like sometimes you like, or you get to like most of it done and you're kind of on to the next thing, or maybe it didn't like turn out the way you thought it was going to be, or you're just still in it or whatever. Like, so it's really important to like do that
Yep.
20% to get 80% of the yield, because you may never get to that other percentage anyway. So
Right. Or when
focus on
things
the right
complete,
things.
that goes back to that culture. And when you're picking it where you can you can cut it and say, this was a this, and I'm going to acknowledge we got to that point. And maybe that accomplishment. I'm going to celebrate we got to that point and understand this could be a longer haul. This could be something that takes a bit more than just the quick hit, right? But
Right.
you're able to call it out and acknowledge it, and we don't sometimes. And it literally will sit in our brain that there's a little part that's going, that's still there, that's still there, that's still there, and that again, it's burning energy. It's detracting from the greater ease of doing something else.
Yeah. And we got to protect our energy. It is finite in a day. And same with time. Time's one of the things that we never get back. Every
Nope,
minute's gone forever. There it
it
goes.
is. It's the one commodity that's out there that it is not replaceable.
Not replaceable. And so you really need to, yeah, be aware of how you're spending your time and your energy and what's going on. And I love that you say about that, about success, because I always like to say that too, that, sometimes people define, well, first of all, like people's definition of what success means is very different. And even if you have like a
Mhm.
similar goal, like what success is to each of those persons can be very different. So it's very unique to yourself. And I believe that success is every single step of the way. Every step that you take, like you're talking about that culture of celebration. I, would totally recommend everybody to have that culture of celebration, to celebrate every step and give yourself a little kudo, even if it's actually, you could actually pat yourself on
Mhm.
the back and feel like, yeah, I
Mhm.
did that. Or even if you're noticing, like if you're trying to change your behaviors and you're becoming more aware of things, you could even celebrate that. Yeah, I noticed that I'm sabotaging myself.
It's
Woo!
interesting to do that, right? Because we talk about social media, right, and scrolling and getting the dopamine hits and all that. You start to shift that, and that's some of the stuff that's kind of like the neurosciencey thing that I wrap in my practice. Is what exercises, what are those small things that you do that make you more aware, that you practice, so that when you hit crunchy moments or high stress moments, or just even through the day, that you can relieve some of that, and you're not doing it through something that's giving you a kind of a false hit,
Right.
because you've established a different pattern that you get some juice from. And that pattern serves you better.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. We're nearing
Doesn't
our
mean you
end.
won't binge watch things every once in a while, but
Yes, that's all right there every now and then. Do you have any like final sort of words of wisdom or a golden nugget you'd love to share?
sure. How about if I give you 3 tips that your audience can do today? If
That'd
they
be
want to say,
awesome.
what makes an impact or what can I do? The first thing is permission. You give yourself permission to play, to explore. So if you look at things and even if you're in a really crunchy spot and you're stressed, you're going, how is this even happening? Where's it going? What happens then is the brain shuts in and you want to go, it just wants to go, tracking on something, and possibilities get limits. So give yourself permission to just step back and breathe and go, what if I flipped it? What if it went this way? What if I didn't think about that particular consequence and I just played like this? So give yourself permission. The next one is awareness. Look at what you're doing. Step out and say, how did I handle that situation? No judgment. This is not a
Yes.
judging,
No judgment.
critiquing, revisiting, and it's not a rumination point. It's just it happened. Okay, here's where we are. What what could I do differently? Okay, but just be even aware. So you don't even have to take it to the next step. It's just awareness. And the third thing is then change one small behavior. Pick something you're going to do differently. Maybe it's that when you get up in the morning, you're going to say an affirmation. People laugh at them, but they're valuable. Maybe it's something about, what am I going to do differently? Maybe the first thing you do is not to grab for your phone. maybe the first thing you do is to just get up and stretch and breathe the air and go, oh my God, I'm glad I'm alive.
Yeah, so I was
Maybe
just
it's the
thinking, I love
next,
to say to myself sometimes, I'm alive, what a gift.
see, that's great. So just something that breaks your pattern. Pick one behavior. Maybe it's the people you talk to. Maybe you're going to say, how are you today, to someone you wouldn't have talked to before. And I get it, because if some people are introverts more, maybe they make that step. Pick one thing and see what happens. So
Who knows what could
permission,
open up.
awareness, and then take an action. Pick something.
Oh, thank you for sharing those. I absolutely love that. So, so awesome. So tell us how people can find you online.
Well, you can go to talkwithmagdalena.com and we can chat if you'd like to learn more and understand about maybe what your next impactful step could be. And also, I will give you a download, some kind of cool stuff. And I think you could probably give you the link and put that in your
Yeah, they'll be in the
in
show
the
notes. Yeah.
notes. Would probably be easier than rattling that off. And it'll help you take a look at maybe how you are showing up, so you can kind of get a sense of, is this where I want to be? Or maybe I want to make some shifts.
Thank you so much for being on this show and sharing your wisdom. It really was so great having you here.
It was lovely, Elisa. Thank you. I love talking to another non-named high achiever.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically, so please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.